What if I told you that the shy girl who sits at the reception desk, the one you walk past without a second glance, holds the solution to your million-dollar problem in her hidden sketchbook? This is the inspirational true story of Claire Miller, and it begins where most stories end, with someone invisible. The 27th floor of the Turner Architecture Building in Chicago held its breath every evening at 6:15. That's when Michael Turner, the CEO whose smile had vanished 3 years ago, along with $2 million and a partner's betrayal, would stride past the reception desk without acknowledging the shy girl who sat there. His footsteps echoed like a countdown, precise, cold, inevitable. But on this particular October evening, something made him stop. Claire Miller was drawing again, her hand trembling, with the kind of nervous energy that comes from keeping secrets too long. At 27, she'd perfected the art of invisibility, arriving before dawn, leaving after dusk, existing in the spaces where nobody looked. The sketch taking shape under her careful strokes was a bridge, but this one seemed alive, its cables reaching across the page like arms waiting for an embrace. "Hope," she whispered, adding the word to the corner, then smaller text, "for Papa, who believed even a shy girl could build kingdoms." She had no idea that 30 feet above her, a $60 million project with that exact name was dying in committee meetings, hemorrhaging money and morale. Michael Turner stood frozen behind the glass partition, watching this heartwarming scene unfold. This receptionist he'd passed countless times was drawing the impossible, the exact vision he'd carried in his mind for months but couldn't articulate. His architects had called his ideas structurally ambitious but emotionally vacant. Yet here in the hands of someone he'd never truly noticed was the answer. Beside her sketch, Claire had written something that stopped his heart. "Every bridge begins with someone brave enough to believe the other side exists. Even a shy girl can see that." For the first time since his partner's betrayal, Michael smiled, not the practiced executive smile, but something genuine and unexpected. He pressed his palm against the glass, and at that moment, Claire looked up. Their eyes met. Hers widened in panic. She wasn't supposed to be drawing during work hours. His softened with recognition of something he couldn't name. Before she could hide her sketchbook, he was gone, leaving only his handprint on the glass and an inspirational moment hanging between them. What happens when the invisible suddenly becomes seen? Dawn brought Jessica Collins, the HR director, whose morning routine included destroying dreams over coffee. Her heels announced her arrival like a warning bell as she approached Claire's desk. "Miller." Jessica's voice sliced through the morning calm. "I saw you sketching yesterday. Again." She grabbed Claire's sketchbook, flipping through pages with undisguised contempt. "The Turner Corporation doesn't pay you to doodle. We pay you to answer phones and maintain a professional appearance." Claire reached for her book with shaking hands. "I only draw during breaks." "Breaks." Jessica's laugh was sharp as breaking glass. "Girls like you don't get breaks. You get opportunities, and you're wasting yours." She held the sketchbook out of reach. "Perhaps Mr. Turner should see how his receptionist spends company time. Maybe I'll also mention those personal calls about your mother's medical situation." Claire went pale. Those calls were to coordinate her mother's chemotherapy schedule. "Please, Ms. Collins." The elevator chimed. Michael Turner emerged, instantly changing the room's atmosphere. Jessica transformed her sneer into a professional smile. "Good morning, Mr. Turner. I was just addressing a performance issue with Miss Miller's artwork." His tone was unreadable as he gestured toward the sketchbook. "May I?" Jessica handed it over with barely concealed triumph. "You should see what your employees prioritize over actual work." But Michael had stopped listening. Page after page revealed Claire's extraordinary vision. Buildings that seemed to dance with life. Bridges that looked like prayers made steel. In every margin, she'd written stories about the people who would use these spaces. One note particularly struck him: added heated shelter here for James the veteran who sleeps under the current bridge. "Miss Miller," he said softly, still absorbed in her work. "Your architectural training, where did you study?" Claire's whisper was barely audible. "I didn't. My father was a construction worker. He died when I was 15, falling from a bridge he was building. I draw what I think buildings should be safe places where people matter more than profit margins." Michael closed the sketchbook gently and returned it to Claire, deliberately bypassing Jessica. "Continue drawing, Miss Miller. The world needs more people who see beyond steel and concrete." He turned to Jessica, his tone cooling. "And HR should focus on nurturing talent, not crushing it. Also, family medical communications are protected under company policy. Threatening an employee about them is a serious violation." After his departure, Jessica's mask slipped completely. "You think you're special now. You're nothing but a delusional receptionist." She leaned close, her breath hot with anger. "I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what you are. And that sick mother of yours' insurance paperwork can be so complicated." That evening, Claire stood behind the building with her sketchbook poised over the dumpster, tears blurring her vision. Her mother's latest test results were devastating, and now her job was threatened. Mrs. Anderson, the elderly librarian from the third floor, found her in this heartwarming moment of despair. "Child," Mrs. Anderson said gently, covering Claire's trembling hands with her own weathered ones. "I heard what Jessica said. Don't let her win." "She's right, though," Claire said bitterly. "I'm nobody. Just another invisible, inspirational story that no one will ever hear." Mrs. Anderson pulled out an aged leather journal. "My daughter was like you, talented, overlooked, ignored, until it was too late." She pressed the journal into Claire's hands. "She was an artist who died at 22 from cancer, just like what your mother's fighting. Don't repeat her mistake of staying hidden." Inside the cover was written, "For those brave enough to be seen, the world is waiting. Love, Sarah." The following day, Michael left a rolled blueprint on Claire's desk with a note: "This is broken. Fix it if you can. MTPS. Your father would be proud of his shy girl." It was the Hope Bridge project, $60 million of failed ambition. Claire unrolled it during lunch, her breath catching, when she recognized the location, the same river where her father had fallen. Immediately, she saw the problem. The bridge was technically perfect, but spiritually empty. Through tears, she began sketching corrections. She added a sunrise viewing platform, her father's favorite time of day. She included benches with small plaques honoring the workers who built it. Most importantly, she redesigned the support structures to look like hands reaching across the water, creating not just a bridge, but a symbol of connection. At the bottom, she wrote, "A bridge doesn't just connect shores, it promises someone's waiting on the other side." This design includes revolutionary safety features, proximity sensors, automated harness checks, emergency response cables. No worker should ever fall again. When Michael discovered the blueprint that evening, he stood transfixed in the empty lobby. His entire team of experts had missed what this shy girl had seen instantly. The safety features alone would save lives. The memorial aspect would heal a community. The water stains on the paper, her tears had created something beautiful from pain. How long can brilliance hide in plain sight before truth demands recognition? 3 weeks transformed into a delicate dance of discovery. Michael began leaving impossible architectural problems at Claire's desk: fractured city plans, unstable tower designs, community centers, that felt cold despite perfect measurements. Each time Claire solved them by adding what everyone else forgot: humanity. Her sketches showed children laughing on bridges, their chalk drawings preserved under protective glass. Elderly couples resting on thoughtfully placed benches with armrests for stability. Teenagers creating memories at story posts where they could carve their dreams into wooden panels for future generations to read. Her designs weren't just structures. They were stories woven into steel and stone. But behind this inspirational progress, Claire was crumbling. Her mother's condition had deteriorated rapidly, tumors spreading despite aggressive treatment. Medical bills piled up like a collapsing scaffold, each one heavier than the last. Claire had started taking freelance design work, sketching logos and storefronts for small businesses between hospital visits. She barely slept, exhaustion etching dark circles under her eyes, her hands trembling as she drew. Jessica watched like a predator, documenting every stumble, every late arrival, every moment. Claire's eyes drifted to her phone for hospital updates, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. That moment came when Claire, rushing to the hospital after an emergency call about her mother's worsening pain, left behind her personal notebook. Jessica found it in the desk drawer, its pages spilling with not just Claire's complete Hope Bridge redesigns, but also rejection letters from architecture firms. Each letter echoed the same crushing verdict: impressive portfolio, but without formal education, we cannot consider your application. Tucked between the pages was a hospital bill, $47,000 stamped past due, and a note in Claire's handwriting: "Keep going for Mama. She believes in you." Monday's board meeting was supposed to be routine. 12 board members, the architectural team, and Michael had gathered to review budgets when Jessica requested time for an urgent security matter. Distinguished board members, Jessica began with practiced concern, her voice smooth as polished marble. "I've discovered something troubling." Claire's sketches filled the projection screen, her intricate bridges glowing under the projector's light. "Our receptionist has been stealing proprietary designs, copying confidential materials for personal gain." Claire, summoned to deliver coffee after a sleepless night at the hospital, froze in the doorway. The tray rattled in her exhausted hands as every eye turned to her, their stares piercing through her fragile composure. "These are Hope Bridge preliminary sketches," Jessica continued, clicking to display the rejection letters. "Notice how Miss Miller has been shopping our designs to other firms, trying to leverage our work for her own career advancement. These late-night timestamps on her files show when she's been secretly working, probably selling our secrets to competitors." That's not Claire's voice, cracked barely a whisper against the room's weight. Michael rose slowly, his expression unreadable, shadows of past betrayal flickering in his eyes. Everyone knew about David, his former partner, who'd stolen designs and nearly destroyed the company. He walked toward Claire with measured steps, each one echoing like a gavel. "Miss Miller," his voice was quiet, controlled, but heavy with expectation. "I need the complete truth. Are these your sketches?" Claire nodded, unable to speak through the fear tightening her throat. "Every line, every concept, yes, but I never." Her voice broke, tears threatening to spill. These rejection letters, he held them up, his fingers brushing the worn edges you applied to other firms using these designs. Her voice shattered completely. "Those applications were from 6 months ago, before you ever saw my work. I applied with my own projects, never Turner's. I would never betray." She stopped, choking on the weight of her mother's hospital bills, the sleepless nights, the fear of losing everything. Michael studied her face intently, searching for truth in her trembling gaze. Then he turned to address the room, his voice rising with quiet authority. "Then we have a significant problem." Board members shifted uneasily. Jessica's lips curled into a triumphant smile. Because these sketches, Michael's tone sharpened, surpassing